I am Hurley in the morning, and ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, we have the Honorable Mayor of the City of Atlantic City. If you missed from 7:35 until 8:15 this morning, I can't do justice to what took place. Now, I will say that I guarantee you, including Mayor Guardian, there will be people that don't agree with what was said between that 40 minutes uninterrupted, but it was pretty epic, and a lot was covered in 40 minutes. And what I love about my job is the opportunity to let all sides be heard. And the mayor and I were in contact with each other right after the interview with the governor, and it just works out perfect. And the mayor has the rest of the program if he wants. That would be equal time or whatever time he has to be with us, because we didn't talk about time frame. But I want to give Mayor Guardian certainly the opportunity to be heard and to be able to not only respond to what the governor and I talked about this morning, but also to share his thoughts about where things stand in Atlantic City, where obviously there is a very serious financial issue that is fast coming to a head. Mr. Mayor, welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, Harry. Thank you for allowing me the time to respond to some inaccuracies that the governor had made. I have to start off by thanking everyone that is working together to try to help us find financial stability for the city. So, City Council, my city employees, residents of Atlantic City, and certainly the support from residents of South Jersey. And I'll get back to that in a few minutes with what they're willing to do over the next few weeks. Harry, we speak both on the air and off the air about our respect for the governor on many issues. But this one, I have to say, he's dead wrong on. The governor withheld $33.5 million from Atlantic City's budget. He did that in 2015. We didn't know about it until January of 2016. And the only reason that we have to close down is not because we want to close down. It's because the governor is forcing us to close down. He's threatened to veto, he's already vetoed the $110 million that was going to be coming from the casinos over a 9-year period for Atlantic City debt, and he vetoed the casino's willingness to pay last year's tax rate of $120 million annually for the next 10 years with no tax appeals. So as he's denying us this money that is absolutely forcing the city to close down, at the same time, for the last 10 years, he's been providing billions of dollars to all the other cities in New Jersey. And, just on the top of my head, I'm going to mention three. $1 billion to Newark every year has been for the last 10 years, $1 billion. That's in school aid and COMTRA, the combined municipal tax aid. He's provided $340 million to Camden. They brag about New Brunswick, but they provide $130 million to New Brunswick school and city. And they do this every year without threatening to take over or do anything else. So they've helped all the other cities, yet they're denying us even a portion of what the other cities get. And by the way, we got $10 million as a city from COMTRA for the first time last year, and the school received $38 million from the state for aid for the first time last year. And just before we go on, I was shocked that the governor chose to pick on my police chief's salary of $220,000 when he blew up the Camden police force, decided that they were going to save the people money, and then hired the current police chief for $230,000, while they can't keep a police force because their salary is so low for new officers that they leave as soon as they can. I heard the governor talk about bankruptcy. The governor and the senator seem to flip-flop on whether it's good or bad. I've said from the beginning it's the worst thing that can happen. I can't take it off the table, but it is the worst thing for the rest of the state. We're making tough decisions now, and they included making sure that before we do run out of money, that we pay the schools to make sure that they stay open during the time that the city will be closed. and we're making sure that we make our next bond payment. Because if we don't, it would be so unethical that the other 544 municipalities and the 21 counties would have a very difficult time trying to borrow money, because if one municipality cannot pay their bond debt and the state wouldn't back them up, then no one is going to lend to anyone. And so it's the entire state that's going to suffer with higher rates here. The fact that the rating agency degraded us in Atlantic City is not because of anything Atlantic City did. It came within hours of when the governor appointed a bankruptcy expert as the emergency manager. That's when we lost all our tax rating.
Now, Mayor, let me jump in 1 second now. That's absolutely true, and that did happen, and I remember that. Absolutely correct what you're saying, but the reference that I had made earlier in the program with the governor was when the statement that Atlantic City may file for bankruptcy protection, that's when they dropped the additional 4 grades. That happened a second time.
That's correct.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. So you are correct.
As I've said before, bankruptcy is the worst thing that can happen for South Jersey and all of New Jersey.
Now, let me ask you the question. You're going to have plenty of time, Mayor. I promise. Everything you want to get out, you're going to get out. But I'll ask you the same impossible question that I asked Governor Christie. I know there's not a great answer to it because some of it we don't know until we know it's going to be bad if it happens. We just don't know how bad. And like always, there's the law of unintended consequences. There'll be things that nobody even thought about that could happen. If we get to April 8th and you've made the last payments that you can make, and let's just assume that Borgata is going to stay with their, as I think I've heard Governor Christie call it, their self-help program, where they'll deny their quarterly tax payment because of what they're owed. So you won't get that money, those millions of dollars. What is Atlantic City going to look like come April 8th?
Sure. So, Howie, let's look, first of all, the bigger picture. And, I'm never going to not answer a question for you.
I appreciate it.
The bigger picture, and I'm not a sports guy, but the problem is from the day I was elected, not even sworn in, the goalpost for fixing Atlantic City keeps on moving, not down the field, but from, Yankee Stadium to Shea Stadium. We had a 6-point plan that the Chamber of Commerce gave me about 50 pages back just before I was sworn in. And it said if you do these 6 things, you'll bring stability to Atlantic City. We met or exceeded all of those 6 issues with the schools, with state aid, with funding cuts, with staff cuts. The problem is that you had a $4 billion reduction in assets in 14, another $3 billion in 16, and probably around $600 million this year. So each time we meet what experts tell us to do, the goalpost moves and we have to cut more. We're getting less money. Now to your question on April 8th. On April 8th, we will run out of money after we pay our bond payment, after we pay the schools. And on April 8th, I don't have money, and we need to shut down the city. What has happened in the interim is it started over the weekend. The police and fire departments came to me and said, we're public servants. You stood up for us before. If you're asking us to work without pay for the 22 days until the second quarter taxes come in on May 1st, we're willing to do that. So that's the first part of essential services, assuring that we're going to have police and fire and dispatch and crossing guards and everything that you relate to public safety. By, I guess, Tuesday morning, we had about 150 additional employees that had said they'll come in and work for free, even with the understanding that they may not get paid, that they just wanted to make sure that they would be able to collect unemployment, but they would come to work every day without pay. If they could get paid once the city has money again, that's obviously what they want to do. But if that's not possible, then they would still come in. And then now we'll have a press conference later on today, but we'll announce almost the entire city workforce is agreeing to work to make sure that services aren't not approved. And then just about everyone that you could imagine, it would be the tickler list, Harry, that you and I would say are organizations that we love. So, Caring responded immediately saying that they could provide one bus every day, two buses on the weekends for senior transportation. We're in discussions right now with the county, but I believe that they will take care of Meals on Wheels. Just about every civic association, former employees, former cops, just good people, faith-based organizations calling in to say, can we volunteer to keep the recreation program open, to keep PAL open, to make sure that we're not taking any programs away from kids or adults. So for the 22 days that we don't have money until the taxes come in, it's an incredible response from citizens and employees that are saying, this is a time to stick together. Everyone asks the same thing. Why is the governor doing this to us when he's helping every other city? And I don't have the answer to that. It's certainly not politics on our part, but that's how we can handle this situation right now, Harry.
When we come back, I know you have more that you want to share and anything that you want to add a clarification or, your disagreement or anything else, you'll have the time to do that. I definitely want to go into, is there a scenario where the city of Atlantic City would accept the state takeover offer? And could that happen before April 8th? You got a lot of great people, and I kind of know this kind of crisis thing. As an old hotel executive, I remember living at a hotel for several weeks without going home because we had some significant staffing problems and some issues that were going on. People are kind of motivated. It's kind of exciting. People step up, and you see leaders rise, but then all of a sudden you're net 30 behind on your mortgage, and you can't pay your electric bill, and you want to provide food and clothing and shelter for your family. And if this were to be protracted and get into month 2 or month 3, then you're net 60, and then they're sending you the notices of foreclosure. And so what's the end game? When we come back with Mayor Don Guardian of the city of Atlantic City, and of course, Mayor, anything that you haven't had a chance to share, you'll have the time when we come back in just 2 minutes. WPG Talk Radio 1450's Hurley in the Morning continues.
At the Jersey Shore on 1450 AM, across all of South Jersey at 104.9 FM, HD2, and everywhere on your cell phone at WPG1450.com. This is Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 1450.
Quick programming note, Executive Program Director Extraordinaire Chris Coleman sent me some updates in the past 30 minutes. This Saturday in the 2 o'clock hour, we will replay. We have the best of Hurley in the morning on the weekends. So Saturday in the 2 o'clock hour will be Governor Christie. In the 3 o'clock hour will be Mayor Don Guardian, what we're doing right now. And then because the program Ask the Mayor, I'm telling you, I truly believe this, it's just been blessed by God from day one. From the second that the mayor agreed to do it, the program has just had, just fortuitous, just luck. And it's a great show, so maybe it's more that it's a great show than the luck factor. But, for example, our next program is Thursday, April 7th, 6 o'clock hour. We set that up a month ago with the mayor and Jasmine, and that's the day before this ill-fated April 8th. So that just put that down in your Rolodex. 6 p.m. in your daytimer. 6 p.m. hour, Thursday, April 7th, our next edition of the award-winning Best of the Best New Jersey Broadcasters Association program for Best Public Affairs broadcast, Ask the Mayor with Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian, who continues now. So what about that, Mayor? I know your leadership capacity, and I know the heart and soul of our community and police. They've been on our show. Your great leadership there, TJ and Keith and the entire team at Atlantic City PBA Local 24. I can say ditto for your distinguished professional firefighters. Everybody's going to step up, and they're going to have Atlantic City's back. But what if you get into a second month, a third month, I mean, I don't care what salary people earn. Most people in America don't even have 30 days cushion to be able to not, I mean, most Americans are paycheck to paycheck, Mayor. What if this goes, into like several months? What are you going to do?
Yeah. So there's no question, Harry, where we are and what the problems are. And if, the governor talked about all the people that spoke before the Senate, only Bob McDevitt spoke for the takeover. And then, of course, our own senators spoke for the takeover. But the other 20, 30, 40 people, everyone that testified against this takeover. And one of, I think, the most moving parts was the president of the Blue Collar Workers here. And he said that he was personally offended, as most people are that belong to his union, that somehow the city is bloated because they make an average of $22,000 a year. And without a Section 8 voucher and a WIC food card program, they wouldn't be able to feed their families. So when the governor is saying he's going to reduce their salary and benefits, the question they asked is how lower can you go? We already make minimum wage. How can you treat us like this? But regardless of all that, Harry, your point is absolutely correct. We get through 3 weeks. May 2nd comes, people start paying their taxes again. We're good for 6 or 8 weeks, and then we're back in the same situation again. And then it is only a matter of time before the city absolutely runs out of money, unless the governor allows the casinos to move the monies forward. But the casinos now have notified the governor's office that they are under both a statutory and a financial obligation to spend the $30 million from last year and the $30 million for this year that was planned to be diverted, to be moved to the city for marketing. And that come May 1st, that's exactly what the casino industry is going to do. So that $60 million is going to be off the table to help the city, and that's another $60 million that the governor at some point is going to force all of New Jersey residents to pay through taxes. There's no other way to do this. This can't continue. We know it. There's no question the governor is financially starving out Atlantic City, and if he did this to any of the other cities, they would be in the same situation, and that's why we have no understanding other than some political game of why they would do this. In terms of the takeover, the first takeover bill was horrendous. I spoke out pretty bluntly against it, but the first takeover bill actually stripped City Council of almost all of their duties, not necessarily the mayor. So we sat at a table in Trenton, under the dome, with the representatives of both the senator's office and the governor's office, and it was somewhat heated for several hours. But at the end of it, we said we're going to change this to more of a partnership. And the state is certainly going to have that intervention of financial controls, but they're not going to strip the city council and the mayor of the other duties. They're not going to be as harsh by abolishing civil service regulations and collective bargaining and selling city assets without our say and doing away with home rule. And they said if the governor agreed, he'd fly back into the state and he'd want to hear this from me directly. And the next, I guess that was a Friday. On a Monday, I drove up to Trenton, and Steve Sweeney and Christie and myself sat in his office and spoke, I would say very lightly, just glad that we're all going to come to the table and find a solution. And then when we walked out, I was shocked that the governor repeated a lot of the rhetoric that he had said before. And since I was in his house and his office, I did not criticize him at the podium. I wrote it off as some of his staff not correcting the speech that he was reading from.
So that's very important, Mayor. So the fact you did not say anything at that time should not be misconstrued as agreement, tacit agreement or silent agreement. You just chose to be polite.
Absolutely. He's the governor of the state. It was his press conference. I can say I was in a state of shock. If you go back, if there's video on it, you can see that I walked over to the Senate president. I said, what's going on? You said that you were going to pull the bill, that you were going to not have the hearing, that we were all going to sit down and create a bill that we could all live with. And I was absolutely right. I will correct it as soon as the governor's finished. And then you saw me move over, and then Senate President Sweeney went up to the microphone and announced just that he was pulling the bill, and there wouldn't be a hearing on the bill, and that we would be working together to come up with a solution. And we thought that's what we were doing. They included Speaker Prieto at that point, and we had 2 or 3 meetings both in Atlantic City and in Trenton, and we thought we were well on our way to finding a compromise bill. And by that I mean that we would still be losing a lot of the financial authority to be given to the state in return for both CompTIA for us, state aid for the school, and certainly the pilot bill from the casinos. And that, of course, isn't what happened.
Mayor, we're going to take a quick time out. We're going to be back in exactly 2 minutes. The Honorable Mayor of Atlantic City, Don Guardian. I don't just want to say responding to Governor Christie, because this is a visit where the mayor is also presenting, issues as he sees them. So it's not just in response. It comes after the governor's time here this morning. So obviously the timeline leads it like it's a response to the governor. And it is that in many of the things we're talking about, but also it's an independent standalone interview with the mayor where he can share where things are. Mayor, something I think we have to chew over when we come back. And again, anything that you haven't had a chance to share yet, the time will be yours. If there's any other matters that you think need clarification, correction, or just your take on them, we'll have time to do that in the next segment ahead. But I also want to talk about the fact that we have a situation right now where if you and City Council stay strident, the governor has said if even one word is changed in the legislation, either on the pilot or with the takeover bill, he will not sign it. If only the pilot bill gets presented, he will not sign it. He'll only sign it if both are there. So we have, and Governor Christie called it, I've called this in past Early in the Morning programs, I think with and without you, Mayor, this is like a high-stakes game of chicken. So everybody's in their favorite car. It's like John Travolta in Grease, and you're in this head-on sort of game of chicken. Is somebody going to turn off into the ditch? Is somebody going to blink? Would the city at any point consider agreeing to the takeover as it is currently written? I want to get you to talk about that, Mayor, if you don't mind, when we come back in just 2 minutes. Early in the morning, WPG Talk Radio 1450. What a morning it's been on South Jersey's talk station, WPG, World's Playground, as in Atlantic City, WPG1450.com and WPG 1450 on your radio dial, also on HD 2FM at 104.9, and streaming at WPG1450.com and on your Radio Pup app as well.
Hey, wake up with Harry Hurley and drive home with me, Sean Hannity, 3 to 6. It's all happening here on WPG Talk Radio 1450.
Hey, thanks, Sean. I want to thank a great friend, Doug, who wrote into the program. I am sitting on the edge of my seat. This has been the most intense Early in the Morning ever, with so much at stake, and you monitored it like only King Solomon could have. Kudos. I have to say, I wrote my executive program director a little while ago. I'm physically, tired. I mean, I've been up since 1:45. That's every day, though. But I am physically tired after the intense nature, because I'm choosing everything I say extremely carefully, because we can't afford – there's a lot of friends involved here, too. Let's not forget that. I know there's political ego. There's, legitimate, differences. There's obviously the desire to not have home rule and the sanctity of home rule be encroached upon. I get it. Believe me, I get it. But one thing I do know, we can't let this thing, this thing called our beautiful Atlantic City, crash and burn. There are investors watching. The rating agencies are watching. You have people that want to book Atlantic City that are watching. You have people that want to spend money in Atlantic City and invest that are watching. So, Mayor, as I do that little preamble, this, I don't think, not only is failure not an option, we can't let this thing get out of control.
So Harry, just for the record, I heard that you said you were tired. I hope that was not another term for fatigued with Atlantic City.
No fatigue in Atlantic City. That's impossible.
Thank you on that.
No,
note.
I just feel like I need to take a nap in about an hour, and I won't get a chance to until 9:00 tonight. But on a serious note, Mayor, is this literally like a game of high stakes political chicken? And everybody's waiting to see. Don Guardian, you're driving a 57, Chevy, and Chris Christie's in a Lamborghini coming at you. Steve Sweeney's coming from the other direction. I was going to call him Rudy Prieto because I worked with Rudy. You remember Rudy Prieto?
Yeah, and I call him that often.
Well, it's understandable
for the speaker.
Yeah, I mean, I love Rudy, and then somebody I worked with for many years worked very closely with Rudy. So I haven't slipped yet, but I did there. Speaker Vincent Prieto's coming in another direction, and we could have a 4-car pile up here, and to me, that's not an option. What can you say? I mean, I'm not trying to litigate over the air because that's not what I do, and it's not fair, and you're not going to say anything you don't want to say anyhow. Plus, I know you're having a press conference at 2 p.m. today, and you could be holding some of your powder dry, and I don't blame you if that's the case. But let me ask you this. Is there a scenario where you and City Council would consider accepting a state takeover?
So first of all, this can all be prevented by just having a bridge loan right now until the pilot bill is passed. It's the governor refusing the pilot bill and even threatening Comptra for the city and school aid for the schools unless we allow a complete takeover of Atlantic City, although that has never been done in any other city, and it would be impossible for this governor or anyone else to say that we are not cooperating with all of the staff that the governor sends to Atlantic City in doing the things that he asked us to do. I was kind of shocked when the governor said he wants to invite everyone to the table because the table has been opened and the only seat missing has been him up to date. He only wants to come to the table after he can strip everyone of their civil service protection and their bargaining rights so that no one will be able to speak at the table. I get it that you want to set up a meeting so that you're always going to win, but that's certainly not the table that we were talking about in trying to move the city forward. The governor can at any time provide a bridge loan, and all of this goes off the table. Yes, it's kicking the bucket down the road, but I'm not even talking about a bridge loan. I'm just asking for my $33.5 million that he promised us from last year. The one of the points that the governor and the state senator have made is that somehow we're spending 6 times per resident what the other 30 cities in New Jersey are spending. And so I'd like to clarify that.
Yeah.
But the year before I became mayor, we were at $264 million budget. Last year, we were at $222, and this year we're operating with a $200 million budget, $64 million difference. But what the governor has done, and very smartly with the emergency manager last year, is they forced us, on top of the $222, to add $27.5 million that went out for tax appeal payments, $7.5 million that we were forced to add as a reserve, and another $7 million for potential lawsuits. The reason I say that's not fair, and it's the difference between the 262 and the 222, is because as he compares us to every other city, he doesn't include those costs for the other city. So now we have 40,000 residents and we have 40,000 employees, and if you divide the 25 million visitors, you know that it's during the summer months, the warm weather months, and then every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that we have about 300,000 people in the city. If you compare us to a 300,000-person city, not only are we not 6 times per resident what it costs other cities, we're 0.5% of what other cities cost. And they compare us to New Brunswick, and it's just not apples to apples. New Brunswick, one, gets $130 million in school and city aid from the state every year. New Brunswick has 20,000 college students compared to 300,000 tourists in Atlantic City. And New Brunswick has Rutgers University taking up the largest square miles of that particular municipality with their own police department and public works. So for the governor to say that he's coming in because it costs the city too much to run, it costs us too much to run because our income has depleted by 70%, and there's no fight on my part or city council that we have to continue to do everything we can to lower the cost of government. But I would like to ask if there's any other city in New Jersey that has trimmed $64 million. And I'm not trying to brag about that. That's nickel and diming. That's raising parking meter fees and individual fees. That's letting the 330 people go. The governor, when he spent $2.6 million for an emergency manager and a team of Ernst & Young, was supposed to restructure our debt of $240 million. After a year, they walked away and they didn't do that. The governor talks about the money that we owe Borgata for a tax appeal. We were told to walk away and that the state was going to bring in high-powered professionals that would find a solution with Borgata. And again, 1 year later, they walked away and said, we didn't do that. It's back in your hands. So the promises are broken promises that have been made by the state.
By the way, I'm not saying you avoided the question because you did give a very in-depth, comprehensive answer, but is there a scenario where the mayor and city council would consider taking the deal, the state takeover deal that's on the table now?
Yes. So, from the beginning, here's what the city council and myself have said. It's got to include this pilot bill with the $110 million on top of the taxes that are coming for the city, the county, and the library.
Does it include it presently?
There's two separate bills, and the governor has vetoed it twice. So the governor can say he's not going to veto it, but past examples have not been good.
Mayor, let me do this. Let me get our last break in, because then we're going to have about 14 minutes uninterrupted, and I will have a follow-up that I think is very important, and I'm really, really happy that I did not forget about this. I understand that Senator Jim Whalen snuck something into the pilot bill that most people don't even know. And that's that if North Jersey casinos are approved, the casinos can get out of – they have an escape clause. And I thought that was the whole point. The whole point of tax stability was there was no escape clause. Look, that North Jersey casino question, when this dust settles here, we can't take our eye off of that because that is so critical. But because you've got to – it's like when you're in triage, the patient comes in after a wreck, and you're looking at, they're hemorrhaging here, so let's stop that. Then you don't even realize there's broken bones because they're not killing the patient. You got to stop the hemorrhaging. So, but I want to talk about this, Mayor, because I don't think anybody has written about it that I'm aware of, and if they have, I apologize. But I have confirmed that Whalen snuck in to the pilot, and this never got a lot of publicity anywhere that I'm aware of, that the casinos have an escape clause. I think a lot of listeners right now are saying, what? Hearing it for the first time. Yes, and I'm almost sure the mayor is going to agree with me when we come back, but I'm going to leave it a cliffhanger, that if the North Jersey casino ballot question that will be on the November 8th general election ballot, if it passes for two casinos somewhere, this is the other creepy thing. They're not even telling us the specifics. How do you vote on something when you don't know where it's going to be? I'm so sick of this stuff. But if it passes, I understand the casinos in Atlantic City can opt out of the pilot legislation. That, to me, is a gaping problem.
If you're talking about it, Harry Hurley's talking about it right now. Call 609-407-1450. Hurley in the morning on WPG Talk Radio 1450 and WPG1450.com.
To the distinguished public servant that has just texted me, I'm going to protect your identity, the gentle lady, female, wonderful leader. It says, hi, Harry, great job this morning. Is it possible to get a copy of your exclusive interview? Thank you. Later this morning, it will be up at WPG1450.com. You won't be able to miss it. If you go to our website, you'll be able to click right on it. And I think, in fairness, we should stream the mayor and the near hour that we're doing with Mayor Guardian as well. I can promise you this also. Saturday in the 2 o'clock hour, we're replaying Governor Christie and my interview. And in the 3 o'clock hour, Mayor Guardian and the interview that we're doing right now. So if it's the weekend and you're listening to it, this all took place on our Thursday edition of Early in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 1450. What an epic day it's been. Mr. Mayor, am I accurate in my sources on the issue of, did Senator Whalen carve out a escape hatch that if the North Jersey ballot question passes, Atlantic City casinos can opt out of the pilot?
Yes, they can. That was added in the latest bill, along with this stringent and far-reaching.
Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose? Why? I mean, a pilot bill is supposed to create stability where you won't have any casino tax appeals, because they've been backbreaking in so many ways. So if you have, now we have to hope and pray that the ballot question doesn't pass, or that we get a pilot passed to begin with. All right. So Mayor has confirmed that is accurate. I'm going to go back to this stubborn question. Would the city consider agreeing to a takeover?
Yeah, here's the only things the city has asked for. We want to make sure that the pilot from the casinos, the 3 bills there, or however many bills there are, along with the state aid, is going to continue to Atlantic City, and we accept the state intervention in everything to do with fiduciary matters. All we're asking for is reasonable benchmarks for any other duties that the city has to reach before the state takes additional duties. Just give us the opportunity to fix it. You're already saying that you don't need the other duties over financial, then why take them unless we have failed? And that collective bargaining and civil service are the only protection an employee has from political wrongdoing. Otherwise, every politician that gets elected is going to fire all the people that didn't support them. It's a terrible concept. It's the only protection that an employee has working for government. So those are the issues that are there. We understand the state's going to take over everything to do with finances here in order for us to get some money so that we can reduce the cost of government here and move on and get the college to build and get South Jersey Gas to open up corporate offices and help Bart Blatstein open up the Showboat and Buai open up the 250 units of new housing. We want to move with all those issues, but we need some help, and we don't know why we're being targeted as the only city in New Jersey to get this type of unfair treatment.
Mayor Don Guardian, do you have any evidence right now, even anecdotal, but do you have any, especially if it's empirical evidence, that all of this controversy is stopping investment in Atlantic City? Because, look, I'm an old finance guy. I'm an old hotel operations executive, and if you don't know who's getting paid, are they declaring bankruptcy, what's going on, if I put my money in, is it going to disappear? This is not good for business.
No, absolutely not good for business. I heard the governor say that some of our vendors were going to refuse to serve us. That's not true. This is the governor and the state senator saying that they heard that some vendor called them and said that they may not, but we didn't have vendors threatening to cut us off. I mean, Harry, at the worst, there are certain services, fuel as an example, that you have to pay cash for. We understand it'd be foolish if we're saying that we're in trouble now to be giving us credit beyond when we're going to have money, and we've taken that into account. So when I said we run out of money, we certainly are going to keep the funding necessary for utilities.
Mayor, you are COD already in some areas.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, we are not making any purchases and have not for the last 60 days on anything other than essential services.
I asked the governor this question. I want to ask it of you, Mayor. What is Atlantic City going to look like on April 8th if you're literally broke as a joke? You're very good at painting a picture, theater of the mind. What is Atlantic City going to look like?
Yep. I think you either have the Garden State Film Festival here or the East Coast Beer Festival. You'll have several 100,000 people in town. Police will be in full force. fire department will be at full force. Other services that the city have will be there. Granted, we can only do that for a few weeks, but because of everyone's willingness to help out in this situation, you're not going to see any changes that are out there. Trash is going to be picked up. Recycling is going to be picked up. That's not going to be a big change. But we have to realize that this is very short-lived. We've got to come to a solution. The speaker, I know the governor's trying to blame me and the speaker for this, and I thought that was kind of odd. I didn't think the mayor of a little city in South Jersey was somehow able to control the three branches of government up in Trenton. But thank you for all of that confidence.
Well, I think what he meant by it is it appears that, I mean, it's like schoolyard almost, playground game, where you have the governor and the Senate president in agreement, and you have the mayor. I'll throw city council in there as well, and the speaker on the other side of the fence, and you're trying to choose up for the schoolyard game or something, because Speaker Prieto appears to be holding firm that if the collective bargaining encroachment is left in the legislation, he's not going to post it. He's doing a press conference today, an hour before yours. Do you know what he's going to say?
I do.
Okay.
And that's a good time to stay tuned. And for those stations that are going to be covering it live, that'll be the next part of the Atlantic City story in today's
now, is
news.
Is this a 1-2 punch? He's going at 1, you're going at 2? Is it coordinated?
Some of it is going to be coordinated. Some of it. Our purpose for our press conference was really to assure people in Atlantic City and in South Jersey how we're going to deal with this particular crisis that the governor's created, and how we're going to remain stable. That was the point of it, and answer people's questions of what's essential and what's not essential, and how can people volunteer, and are we going to be paying health benefits? Well, all of those myriad of questions that we've gotten in the last 2 or 3 days. That was the purpose of the press conference. But with the governor coming on your show and then doing the press release that also had a lot of non-factual information, I think it's necessary at this conference to address that. And then our city council president is also going to be speaking on city council that along with myself, is going to continue to work. We're still going to have meetings. We're still going to represent the residents of Atlantic City. We're still going to be there to hear their concerns and respond to it. And so, that's what the point of the press conference for us is this afternoon. But I don't think you can say that there's offense. The speaker and myself and city council is the ones to saying, let's continue to find a solution for this, but we shouldn't be stripping people of civil rights, and we shouldn't be stripping people of collective bargaining or their civil service protection.
And by the way, when I used the analogy, the fence, I didn't mean a wall or a fence between you. I meant just like when we were kids and you used to line up on each side of the, and then you would choose up your teams. And right now it's like Governor Christie, Senate President Sweeney, Speaker Prieto, Mayor Guardian, and because you need all three, you need the Senate, you need the Assembly, you need the governor to agree to sign. You have different political parties involved. And then, of course, you have the mayor of Atlantic City, because of the scope of Atlantic City, which is bigger even than the size of Atlantic City. You're a major player in it as well. So I kind of meant it. I meant it collegially and really sort of in fun, not that there was a fence between sides. But do you think it's more likely than not that this is going to happen? This is going to go to April 8th. You will have made the last payroll payments that you can make, and that the city is going to be broke?
The April 8th is coming regardless of anything else that happens. That's a fact. That's very unfortunate. But unless the governor decides to release the $33.5 million or provides a bridge loan, Atlantic City will be out of money on April 8th.
And he, as you know, he has made it clear in the past, and he made it absolutely unambiguously, abundantly clear here in our exclusive on Hurley in the Morning WPG Talk Radio 1450 this morning, just a few hours ago. He's not doing that. He is only willing to sign both pieces of legislation if they both get delivered to him together and they are approved by both, houses of the legislature, and that not a single word from where they are now can be changed. So that is his position. If that is, and I know him and you know him, he's not going to budge from that. That means April 8th is going to happen, because I don't sense that you're going to budge from your position, are you?
So what's going to happen is April 8th, we're going to have no money. The employees and volunteers are going to cover all the services. On the 2nd of May, we're going to pay them back. We're going to run for about 6 weeks more. Whether the governor chooses to veto, do nothing, travel around the country to support Donald Trump, or sit in Trenton or Drumpwack it, the city will run out of money. At this point, he will not have his bills, and he will be forced to use state taxpayers' money to take over Atlantic City and pay all the bills. And that is very, very sad note to say that he's willing to do that. This isn't stubbornness on our part. This is the inability of the governor to treat Atlantic City and residents of New Jersey that live here like every other city in the state.
Mayor, we're in a 2-minute drill. Is there anything that you haven't had the opportunity to share that you would like to?
No, I think the issues are there. We're trying to do everything that we can. We have to be the most cooperative city of the 11 cities that are currently under transitional aid, working with staff from the governor's office. But it's very sad that the state is not willing to help us. They say they're tired or fatigued and that they're tired of bailing us out, but in reality, they only promise to bail us out. We beg for that bailout, and then they don't deliver it. So it's very sad. It's the state of New Jersey abandoning the people of Atlantic City, and there's no reason for that. My residents didn't do anything wrong, and the 35 years of bad decisions get shared by both the state and the city when we had all of that income coming here during the golden years of casino gaming.
Let me give you the chance to answer my really challenging question to the governor that you and I have talked about on this program and on the Ask the Mayor program. The state has been here. The governor said, though, but we didn't have the authority to do what we can do if we have, the legislative authority to actually make the changes that we want to make. So his position is that it's not like the state has been there all along and sanctioned everything that went on. The governor said he was trying to respect the sovereignty of the city, and that there's much more that the state can do to help fix Atlantic City if they have this financial and operational control. What do you say to that?
I would say that you can see when the state gets operational control of a city or a school district or a tourism district, they drive it into the ground. They increase the cost of operations. They increase the deficits. They mislead people about actual cost and find no long-term solution. The solution here is continued decrease of cost in the city, increased income outside of property tax, and bringing in new businesses that'll create jobs and taxes. That's the long-term goal, and the state taking over is not going to solve that problem. The state taking over is just the state taking over, and that's very sad, and I disagree. The governor, through the memo of understanding with myself and city council, is able to control salaries, increases, decreases, firing, and every single contract that has to do with finances. And they've had that, I can't say how long before me, but certainly for the 2 years and 3 months that I have been the mayor. So to ask for duties beyond what the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of New Jersey allows you is just that. It's unconstitutional and certainly unethical.
Mayor, we'll follow up after your press conference, if you don't mind, and we look forward to April 7th. Of course, that is very timely, 6 p.m. Ask the Mayor. What a night that's going to be on the day before. And good to visit with you this morning.
Harry, thank you very much. Always good to be on Town Square Media. Thank you for giving us the opportunity for rebuttal on some of the statements made by our governor this morning.
Thank you, Mayor.
Have a great day.
You too, sir. Mayor Don Guardian, you can't do more than that, kids. I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to sleep good tonight. What a morning. You heard it was unprecedented, 40 minutes uninterrupted with Governor Christie. To give you an idea, Chris Coleman has been sending me updates. The Washington Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, Atlantic City Press. And by the way, shout out to Christian Hetrick because he's been doing a lot of good work on Atlantic City. He really has just a lot of heart, a lot of hard work. and he did have the story, and I didn't know it about an hour ago. He did have the story that I thought I broke. I didn't see his, I'm being honest. I always give credit. But he had the story about the escape clause if the ballot question passes for the Atlantic City casinos and the pilot.